23 years ago, I was working at the Cheesecake Factory down on Pratt Street in Baltimore. And I had been witnessing to my friend Mike over and over again, along with everybody else, about my newfound faith. And, now it is 23 years later, and I'm suddenly getting a new excitement for all of this to be coming back in full force, to expect great exploits. And this is definitely that. We had to walk like a hop, skip, and a jump away from the restaurant because if you were up close, it was going to cost you like $25 just to park. Who wants to do that? So he's walking me to my car. We get in, and he's like, I'm really just upset because you're basically trying to tell me that because I'm Buddhist, I'm going to hell. And I'm like, no, what I'm saying is we're all going to hell unless we find a way to get there by getting saved. That means just, giving Jesus a shot. Like, what's it going to kill you? And so he's like, well, I just don't understand. I haven't been brought up that way. And so we're talking, and it's a hot summer night, so the windows are down. And these two kids come up, and they're like, hey, give me some change. And I'm like, okay. It's like 1 a.m. I don't know why you're up right now, but it's kind of late. Why don't you just get out and on home? Gave him some money. That's it. I realized that they're lingering, however, in the rearview mirror. And I'm like, I think we have a problem because there was a check in my spirit. And I'm like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do? I start the car, have my hand on the throttle just in case we need to go. And they come over and they're like, hey, do you have any change? And I'm like, you already asked me for some change. Why are you asking me again? But I turn around in a console, grab some change, and when I look back, there's a gun right here, stuck to my face. And they're like, we want all your money and your cell phone now. Now, the crazy thing is I was prepped because my dad gave me his big block of a cell phone because he was all concerned about me working in the city, and they had just come out. So it's not like they were discreet or anything. And I checked this thing out of the console, and I'm like, hey, you can have this. And he's not removing the gun. And I'm thinking, I don't really care for being held up right now. So no harm can come to those in Christ Jesus. And I'm like, guess what, buddy? No harm can come to those in Christ Jesus. No harm can come to me in Christ Jesus. And I started saying it. And he was like, stop saying it. Now he's waving the gun. And I'm like, no harm can come to those in Christ Jesus. Now get out of here because he asked me for my license. I'm like, no. This is where I draw the line. I don't have time for this. Goodbye. So they take off. Mike's like, oh my gosh, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. Let's go get him. So I start pedal to the metal, and we are going through this city, and I'm weaving out of traffic and down back alleyways. We never caught him. Okay, the point is, I came into a conclusion that I was not going back into the city for a while. Finally, my dad had my attention, and I'm like, look, it's a little dangerous. After about a week, I mosey on back, and I come in, and everybody's like, whoa, we heard what happened. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's kind of like, humiliating. You're so violating. And they're like, no, Mike, he's like a Christian now. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, he was so excited that your Jesus defended the two of you that he was like, why would I even put any stock in Buddha anymore? He's going around and talking to everybody about Jesus and how your Jesus and your prayers just saved the two of y'all. And I'm like, are you serious right now? And literally, sure enough, he comes around the corner and he's just like, man, I'm so thankful for what happened. I can't even believe that happened to us. And I'm just like, yeah, me neither. And from that moment forward, I didn't have too many people giving me trouble any shift I worked. And if they ever wanted to get to their car, they were usually asking me to accompany them.